Hi, I'm Elliot, a writer, and I'm typing out The Great Gatsby. Why? Because that was something Hunter S Thompson did because he wanted to see what it would be like to write a masterpiece. Now that I've started this project 7 months ago, I need to finish it. So, join me every Saturday until I finish this whole novel. And we're back with another episode of Typing The Great Gatsby with me, Elliot. Hey, it's crazy week, huh? It feels like this week, out of all the other weeks of the pandemic, the days in it actually feels like they're repeating itself because this is the week of the US elections. And currently we're at a complete standstill. So I mean, I'm not a political guy, but I feel like this one, it's gonna matter. I like visiting the United States, so I hope to do it again soon, within the next 4 years. So, that's all I want to say. So I hope things resolve itself in a very, very peaceful, healthy, productive way. I hope things don't get worse. That's that. I've been just focused on that for a while, this whole week. So, I mean, the whole point of this Gatsby thing is a little escape from the stress and complexity and the troubles of real life, right? So, this is what we're doing today. And this is, I'm gonna call it. I know other news stations might not call it, but I'm calling it. This is the penultimate episode of Typing the Great Gatsby. So welcome. Thank you for everybody who has been with me on this journey. The hardest part isn't the typing. The hardest part is finding the time to do it and to share it with all of you. Future me that's gonna watch this and be like, oh my God, what was up? Boy, free time was nice back in 2020. It started out with like some free time in like April and maybe even into May. Then the summer got crazy and fall is extra crazy now. So it's been hard to even squeeze out this 1 hour a week to do this. Nevertheless, here we are, and let's get started. There's a lot to get through. I really do want to finish this in the next 2 episodes because life is too short to be doing this. Let's not drag this out. Let's not drag this out like the election. So, our intention with this episode is much the same as the previous 2. We're just looking at how Fitzgerald is gonna end the story. The Great Gatsby is often touted as having a great ending. I don't really remember how it ends, so let's find out together. Last time we were here, Gatsby's dead, and Nick is dealing with the repercussions of all that. It kind of all fell onto him just by association, and Gatsby clearly having this really tragic end to what could have been a great life, and gets visited by his father, and the stories that Gatsby has told Nick, it's kind of unraveling, and we kind of see who he is. All right, let's do this. I also want to mention I have upgraded my phone. I hope the framing is right this time. I was kind of very upset that so late into this filming Gatsby typing business that I'm still making these amateur mistakes. But like I mentioned, I'm just trying to roll with it. But I do have a new phone, and I'm recording this from it right now. So that's exciting. That's exciting. Higher quality. Spelled it right. Sometimes it autocorrects or gives me the squiggly line when I don't deserve it. All right. Swastika Holding Company. Oh yeah, I guess this is before World War II. So the Roaring 20s. How different life was. You think back, and that wasn't really that long ago, you know? Okay. This Mr. Wolfsheim character, I didn't expect him to play such a big role at the end, but I guess the mystery of him kind of left a lot of stuff unanswered. So hopefully figure out what he's actually up to. What he dragged Gatsby through. If you hear slurping, that's just my dog licking himself behind me. Please stop. Please do this later. Ooh, yeah, sassy. I like to write a character that's really sassy or smart. I remember George R. Martin saying that the hardest part is, like, one of the fun parts of writing like really smart characters is that it seems like they're thinking of that like line, like that comeback right away, but what's really happening is he's taking like days and days to actually think of that comeback. So it takes time. Allow yourself to take time. Just reworking it. That's the key, yeah. Writing smart characters. Writers are not that smart. We just have more time to appear like we're smart. That's the thing. It should be there should be like improv. I always wanted to do this. I never did, and it's kind of like improv writing where you write like one paragraph and then you send it to someone else, and someone else writes the following paragraph. To me, it sounds fun, but it might also be like tedious work. Stella. Is that where Marlon Brando got it from? Streetcar Named Desire. So Wolfsheim is clearly hiding from Nick. Sneaky guy. Sick and tired. That's how he spelled it. People are so mean to Nick. Must be very frustrating. Frustrating end. All right. Also worth mentioning, we're not doing any more Fitzgerald fun facts, and we're not doing any more of the speed timing thing. I think we're done with those. The last leg, I think we should just focus on finishing this book. Wolfsheim. Yeah, cool. That's for a job. Neat. America, mistreating veterans. Wow, $4. All right, now maybe we'll learn something. Okay. So what is happening here, I assume, is that previously everything we knew about Gatsby was telling Nick, and Nick was kind of, storing it into his brain, and presumably there's gaps in the story missing, which doesn't help give a clear picture of who Gatsby is. What's happening now is that we're getting the final pieces of this character that is so great, and we could finally see, at least from other people, we don't know if it's true or not, from his father, from other people that knew him, like who he actually was. And this is kind of the case when someone dies, someone that like is near and dear to you. You kind of wonder, like, what was that person's life, and like what made them do that? What secrets weren't they telling us? Especially if the relationship is not of a family member, but of an acquaintance, and you always just see them in the periphery. They let you know what they want you to know, but once they're gone, you don't feel like you're necessarily intruding on that person's life anymore. You could ask things of other people, and it doesn't really feel as gossipy because they're not around anymore and they can't really feel bad. So that's what Nick is doing. I suppose he's trying to get Wolfsheim to go to the funeral, but in the meantime, he's also figuring out Gatsby, and I believe just trying to find closure. And that's how the book will wrap up, I assume, having closure with all these different characters that orbit around Gatsby's gravitational force. Yeah, wasn't that the story that Gatsby told him that he? I don't know. That was so long ago. When you think about it, it's taken me like 9 months to read this book. It's kind of crazy. I'm a notoriously slow reader, but 9 months is kind of a chapter a month. That's not too bad. Yeah, there's no reason not to go to your friend's funeral unless you're up to some sketchy shit. Or, yeah, sad. I mean, the situation of which Gatsby died is kind of a sketchy thing in itself. I could see why, if you're up to no good, you don't want to get involved with that. Oh, sorry. Whew. This is tiring. Well, connection. That's right. He speaks funny. Oh, what a callback. Callbacks are great at the end. If you could call back something that happened previously in the story, that you gotta just trust in your readers to be smart enough to remember stuff. It's like a joke. You know, when you call back something, it just makes you feel witty. And that's one of the things where editing comes in. Odds are, in a first draft, it's going to be hard to like just, I want to write a great first draft and call back things and connect everything. That rarely happens when you're just writing the first draft. So once again, take your time. Really understand how the characters speak. Understand how your characters think in this witty way. Make them sassy, make them have personality, make them say profound things, make them have differing opinions. Don't just focus on just continuously everything they say doesn't have to just constantly like support the plot or whatever. It can show a little bit of the character and who they are. And I think that colors it a little bit and it allows you to make these connections a little bit easier, so it's just not completely plot driven and the characters can be easily replaced with anything, right? So keep that in mind. Connection, I think, is a good connection. Is that how you say? Negation? I don't even know. I'm already terrible at pronouncing stuff. Don't give me a fake word to try to pronounce. Where am I now? Agree with it or not, that's kind of allowing you to understand that character's philosophy, right? That's how we all say things to ourselves to help us sleep at night, right? We all think we're the hero of our story and that we're doing the right things, and we say these things in our heads to prop ourselves up, or like, don't worry about that, or when you get angry at someone in public and you're just like, no, that person did the wrong thing and they violated something I value, a principle that I have. And have you ever been like wronged in some way and you feel like you need to get revenge, or it's the principle, damn it, it's the principle? Whenever you find yourself saying that, understand what your principles are. Just store it in your head and keep that for your character. You know, it's so much a part of you. The ability for you to recognize whenever you have a principle that was violated by someone else, that is like a very human thing. These are the kind of lies we tell ourselves because people, you're probably doing a lot of things that are violating other people's principles. These are the things we need to understand, and that's one of the reasons why conflict happens, is because these principles are violated, and that's why the world is so divided in these ways, because some people believe that, no, we should kind of protect our traditions and what we have, and other people are like, no, we should be progressive and we should learn from our mistakes. This is where it all stems from, and if you could kind of inject your characters with that, it just helps you tell the story in a more illuminated way. It makes it more than just a story. And one interesting thing about this whole scene here is we learn a bit about Wolfsheim, we learn a bit about Gatsby, but nothing was resolved. It was a failed attempt by Nick. And I think that's one thing we need to realize when we're writing scenes, is that you can have scenes where the character attempts to do something but doesn't succeed, and you know, these things happen, that not everything needs to like progress forward. Sometimes it could just kind of regress or be in a complete standstill, like this election that the US of A is having. I had such a hard time. I was gonna say United States, then I was gonna say USA, and then I was gonna say America, and then what I ended up saying was US of A really badly. That was weird. What was I saying? Okay. Look how quickly Fitzgerald is able to transition between scenes, right? It only took this paragraph here. It's when I left the office, the sky had turned dark, and I got back to West Egg in a drizzle, changed clothes, and then immediately goes. It doesn't linger too long on like what clothes he's changing into or the actual journey back to West Egg. That's not important. Just in 3 sentences, he's able to transition from leaving Wolfsheim's office to being in Gatsby's place with Mr. Gats. So economy matters here. Just move it. Just move it. Like, figure out where you actually want to focus the reader on. And that's something I struggle with a lot when I'm drafting, is just like painting the pictures of the journey from here to there and going through all that detail when it doesn't motivate the story. It doesn't mean anything. It's just like, yeah, you cut that part out. If it's a movie and you only have 90 minutes to tell a story, that part's gotta go. Yeah. Does it come? Come, sorry. Give me 1 second. All right, everything is good. Oh. I'm looking forward to having a desk. I'm telling you that. this working from home has really forced me to adjust. But we will be moving to a larger space, and I look forward to having my own personal studio space to continue creating these videos. So probably only this, maybe next episode may be the last time you see this setup. So yeah, it's bittersweet. All these things coming to an end, it's bittersweet, right? Like, I remember sometime in June or July, just so looking forward to completing this, and now that we're in last leg, it's like, it makes you feel, I feel this way at the end of every year. It's it's one of the reasons why I don't love like the holiday season, is because I get hard on myself. I always wonder, did I make the most out of this year? Did I do the best I can? And I feel this way about this whole series as well. I wonder, did I do a good job in just talking about this writing process, sharing the thoughts in my head, articulating my ideas, even just typing this out, just managing my time, or framing my shots properly? Did I do all these things to the best of my ability? And no one's really evaluating this. No one's comparing this unless you choose to do your own Typing the Great Gatsby series. There's really no comparison. I don't know what Hunter S Thompson did. This is my interpretation of it. So yeah, I kind of have this weird argument. The two wolves in my head, Wolfsheims in my head. The two Wolfsheims in my head have this argument all the time about when I'm near the point of completion. They just like, you did a bad job, you rushed it. Or another one's like, you could take more time. Actually, one is more supportive. It's like, get it done. Like, all that matters is getting it done. And I think that has been my main motivator. Is I've been telling myself, just get it done. It's kind of like the first draft thing. And it's with all things, right? Whenever we end something, we do have that feeling of, was this the best way of spending my time? And there's no answer to that. There really isn't. I think what's interesting about this whole scene, the sequence here between, it's the juxtaposition, can I say that correctly? Between Wolfsheim and Mr. Gatz and their relationship to this Gatsby character. It's so different. These are the two father figures of Jay Gatsby's life, and just the way it was almost as if Gatsby went in the wrong direction, that he could have been happier living a life where he was loved by his father, as opposed to a life where he pursued all these things to impress people but ended up having no one, and also in a way distancing himself from his father. So I think that's something really powerful in the scene, and kind of adds another thin layer of like pain you feel towards like another layer of tragedy to this Gatsby character. These trucks outside are banging. You're always filming something outside here. Sirens. I'm gonna miss the sirens. I'm gonna miss the constant screaming outside. Those are the things I'll miss once I leave this place. This mortal coil. Jeez. 1906. What? Seems like yesterday. I'm gonna try to do this properly, but I'm probably gonna do it wrong. I'm just gonna give it this mini. I'm just gonna try to do this my way. Did I spell scaling right? No, there's a single L. Yeah, there we go. Study electricity. This is taking longer than I wanted to. Formatting is always interesting in a book. I think that's something people should get creative with, that your story doesn't always need to be told in the same way, paragraphs, dialogue. I feel like if the situation calls for it, it's always fun to kind of change it up a bit. Tell in different ways. Tell it in like a letter or in text messages, or in this case, a schedule. There's many ways to help the readers understand your character. So, of course, it won't be fun to just like read a full schedule of something. In fact, oftentimes something like this, if I see something like this in a story, I would just skip it because it doesn't really help. Now that I'm typing it out, it actually adds a lot to it, you know? It kind of really deepens the understanding of this Gatsby character, and you could just envision Fitzgerald kind of like thinking about this like a lot. You know, when would Gatsby wake up? What would young Gatsby do? I think this is very interesting, even just an exercise. It doesn't have to end up in your story, but if you're trying to understand your character, just like what is a day in like a completely normal day, like not during the story, but like before the plot actually begins, what does a normal day for your character look like? That way you have something that they take for granted and you could just take it away from them. Like Gatsby probably loved playing baseball. Take it away from him. And that's another way to create conflict. Oh. Study inventions. Yeah, busy day, this guy. Oh, sorry. Yeah. This kind of creates like a realism to it. Right? They can't read everything that Gatsby wrote in this old book. Sorry, I mean, mistake there. I mentioned before about values and principle. This is a very effective way to just present it, like not even try to sugarcoat, like, or try to hide it and to conceal it and be subtle about it. This is a great way to see just the thought process of young Gatsby, and any character really, is just their general resolves, what they want to be, what they think would make them a better version of themselves. Because everybody, like I mentioned, everybody is the hero of their story and everybody wants to be better. They just sometimes don't know how, and they get caught up in things, get addicted to things, get obsessed over things that kind of destroys their life. And that's the ultimate tragedy of a human life, is knowing what you want to pursue, but then having these vices that kind of steers you in the wrong way, and it pulls you under, and it just, once you go deeper into it, it gets harder and harder to dig yourself out to even start, because you got to repair everything. So that's one of the big tragedies of the story, and I think that's one of the reasons why it resonates, The Great Gatsby. another tragedy is just being a parent and then looking back and saying, especially if your child dies and you just kind of think of all the things you did wrong. You blame yourself. Just a little bit more to go. A little bit more. But that's how it ends. Daisy didn't show up. Wolfsheim didn't show up. The guy who wanted his coat or boot or something didn't show up. Tennis shoes, I believe it was tennis shoes, didn't show up. And I think that's a beautiful imagery of all the people showing up to Gatsby's party, right? But no one showing up to his funeral. That's, if at the end you could create that kind of contrast, that is what great storytelling can do. Just create that contrast of a character's life. And I think it's most effective here. And it's hard to understand what makes a good ending to a story, you know? It's really hard to like pinpoint the thing that you need to do. They always say, oh, it needs to be kind of inevitable but surprising, right? Inevitable but surprising. But how can that be? How can that be? And it does that when you could create that contrast of what was and what is now. And you could do that with this imagery of an empty funeral with the busy, bustling people dancing, jazz party. That was chapter 3 or whatever. else? What? This is the beautiful thing about Fitzgerald. No character is wasted. Even this owl-eyed glasses man. They all serve a purpose. They all come back. There you go. There you go. That's Gatsby's funeral. And the owl-eyed man, he's kind of vocalizing what I was saying before, that the tragedy of all those people used to go to his house and used to do all those things, but there's no one here now. He is a poor son of a bitch, the Gatsby. And there's this one perspective of Wolfsheim, and it's like, oh, you should be good to people while they're alive and forget about them while they're dead. Yeah, and it's just sad that could be a way to go about this life. Yeah, that was really good. That was really good. I'm looking forward. This feels like a near completion. It is kind of like, where is this Daisy character? Come on. I think in the last 5 pages or so, we'll find out where Daisy is. I think. I'm not too sure. I don't remember the story. But she's really the last character to wrap up now, Daisy and Tom, who kind of just fled the scene and abandoned this guy. There needs to be an explanation. I think that's, and like I said, Fitzgerald's probably saving that to the very end. I believe so, because he's doing a really good job of wrapping these things up, and we're kind of feeling how we're having an understanding of how the world actually sees Gatsby, and that everything before was just an illusion. But that's it. This right here was the second last episode of Typing the Great Gatsby. One more to go. I know I'm like this right now, kind of just like super chill. But I'm very excited. I'm very excited for the last episode. We'll have drinks. I'm gonna make a gin Ricky, and please make a gin Ricky as well. I know it might be in the middle of the day when you're watching this, but please let's have a drink. Let's celebrate what I've accomplished here. Let's celebrate me. Yeah, let's do that next episode. There's nothing like getting to the end of something, whether it's a project of something or whatever. This is strange. This is very strange. But thank you once again for joining me. I look forward to seeing you guys next week for the final episode of Typing Out the Great Gatsby. It has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.